Welcome to the Paperless Productivity Podcast, where we have experts give you the insights, know-how, and resources to help you transform your workplace from paper to digital, while making your work life better at the same time.
Welcome to the introductory podcast on SafeEncounter. My name is Scott Beatty. I'm here with my friend Julian Batage. Julian's the key developer, visionary behind this product. He's been working on it for some time. We will leave our contact information at the end of the podcast, along with the website, so that you can get more information or request a demo. Let's get started. So why don't you give me a quick overview, Julian, of SafeEncounter, and after that, we'll go into a little bit more detail.
Yeah, sure. So SafeEncounter is a web application currently where people can basically create profiles for their loved one that have intellectual disabilities. The idea behind this is to help law enforcement that would be granted access to this data. And then if they find a person wandering on the street, they are able to identify them and basically return them home safely to their family. We've built the entire application with security in mind, and we're really proud ourselves to giving the parents and legal guardians 100% control over their data.
So you mentioned parents. Are there other maybe groups of users that also would be users of it?
Absolutely. So we can see this, for example, in a retirement home where they can create more dependence in the system, and they can also manage multiple people in the same system. So the usage is very wide, but the focus is basically for the law enforcement to be able to search this data and identify the people that they might encounter on the street.
Got it. So this is a bit different than other ImageSoft products. Can you kind of give us a little background, kind of the inspiration?
So, as a matter of fact, my grandma had Alzheimer, so I am very familiar with the struggles that families encounter with this disease. When I heard at ImageSoft about a specific custom solution that was being built for a particular customer, I could not stop thinking about how can I make this more extensive and scale it up so we can help more and more people basically we can help more and more people to find their loved ones if they are wandering on the street.
So you mentioned the scalability, and can you talk just briefly about the platform, a little bit of the technology behind it?
Yeah, so we use technology like Elasticsearch that allows us to scour information that was added into the system by family members or other parties, and the system is able to go and match little pieces of information and pull data from what's available to get the best score, the best hit to identify the person that they are looking for.
What kind of people is SafeEncounter? You mentioned Alzheimer's. Any other kind of use cases or types of folks that it's meant for?
Yeah, so we are targeting mainly people that have intellectual disabilities. So that would include anything to Alzheimer's, dementia, schizophrenia, Down syndrome, autism, and other spectrums, basically. But it's mainly for people that are not able to communicate. So whenever law enforcement is trying to communicate with them, they are unable to tell them who they are. And so law enforcement has to use only certain points of information to basically figure out who these people are.
So you started talking about some of the features there. Can you go into a little bit more detail on some of the features and benefits?
So one of the great benefits I think for the application is that a law enforcement can access this application from any device. So they can be on their car, they can access the information via their laptops, via their cell phones, or even the dispatcher can access the same information from their office. Once the law enforcement has signed into the application, I mentioned before we use Elasticsearch technology that allows the law enforcement to just have partial information about a particular individual. For example, their hair color or eye color, their gender. And then we are able to go and find the individuals that match those points. However, we also have a different way of searching, which is map-based searching, where we pinpoint each address of the individual that has been registered in the system, and then we use the officer's location to try and have a radius of individuals, for example, that have registered in the application in 15-mile radius to help the officer kind of drill down on the search results. We also have the ability for law enforcement officers to exchange notes for a particular individual between the colleagues, so they can inform them of a certain encounter before or other information that they need. But also the law enforcement admins, they can manage the entire agency, they can manage who's going to be an officer, who has access to what data, and all of that is based on a very detailed history trail.
So it sounds like you must have gotten some feedback or some involvement from law enforcement. Can you talk a little bit about some of the early customers that influenced this?
Yeah, so one of the first customers that we based a lot of our research from and try to understand the business process behind of this is Fort Bend County in Texas. They have been very helpful to kind of understand the whole, process that they currently have, which was like, a paper-based system. And then we had to bring in all of their knowledge and build the system, but also based on our standards and based on our personal experience also.
So I understand the long-term goal is to get this product in the hands of as many agencies as possible. Is there some advantages to having kind of a broader network for law enforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. The entire goal of SafeEncounter is the ability to have inter-district connections between law enforcement, because unfortunately, the reality is that a person does not wander just inside a particular police agency's jurisdiction. So, for example, they can wander off in a neighboring agency or other even longer than that. So the idea is that the parents, legal guardians, and other entities that are adding this information in the system will be able to choose and allow other agencies, neighboring agencies, to be able to search information about the dependents that they have registered. This way, agencies can exchange notes for a particular individual, but they can also access information for these individuals that are also from a different agency. And so the more agencies we have in the system, more people we have in the system, it makes it easier for these officers to return somebody home safely.
And I know we've talked to some other police agencies. Can you just talk briefly about what SafeEncounter is not for? I know police do a lot of different things, but this is not intended for everything. Can you talk a little bit?
So this system is particularly built for people that have an intellectual disability, and our whole idea is to help these people go home safely. So we don't want to use it as a search tool where you register anybody. We don't want to use it as a data collection tool. And again, the parents and legal guardians have 100% access to their data.
So it's not meant for storing criminal data and things like that.
Absolutely not.
Okay. So what's the future of the technology from your perspective? Do you think it will be useful beyond law enforcement?
Yeah, definitely I can see it where mental health organizations or mental health institutions, even inside a county, for example, can use the system for different purposes. We also can see it in a school system to be able to add student specific information and manage it from the school's perspective. So the usage is wide, and we're also focusing on increasing the technologies that we use to search for these dependents, because at the end of the day, when the officers encounter somebody on the street that's not able to tell them who they are, they only have so many points of information to search for them, that we would like to make that as easy as possible and as accurate as possible.
Well, thank you, Julian. I appreciate your input. So I guess we'll end it there. So thank you very much. And stay tuned for other SafeEncounter podcasts following this one. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us on this podcast. To learn more about ImageSoft, please visit imagesoftinc.com. That's imagesoftinc.com. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to Paperless Productivity. where we tackle some of the biggest paper-based pain points facing organizations today. We'll see you next time.